Alright, here's our video on quadrilaterals. We're talking about deltoids and trapezoids. In this video, we talked about the other quadrilaterals, and we did mention trapezoids and deltoids in the previous video. So if you want to watch the previous video, and again, remember we said quad means four, it's four-sided, and lateral, it means the side, it means a side, so four sides. So this means four, this means side, lateral. So let's look at a deltoid, right? A deltoid in math is a kite. It's also a curve, but that's another story, right? When you take higher courses in geometry, you'll look at a deltoid curve. And also in anatomy, a deltoid is your shoulder, right? Your shoulders are your deltoids. And you might hear people say, I'm going to have to work my delts today. Your delts, your deltoids. But we're just concentrating on a kite. So here it is. You have certain things like this, and these hash marks mean that these two are the same length, and these two are the same length. And these two right here, we'll talk about these two first, they're adjacent to each other. They're next to. There's a word for us to know, adjacent. All right, let me write that down. Oop. Adjacent, A-D-J-A-C-E-N-T, adjacent. So adjacent just means they're next to each other. All right, and we have our angles here. And another word you should know is opposite, right? So this angle is straight down from this one, so it's opposite. They're opposite each other, and they are congruent. And you should remember that word from the last video. We said congruent is same shape, same size. So they're the same if they're congruent. Adjacent, they're next to each other. The angles are congruent, diagonally away, or opposite each other. And the same for this side. Right, so here's our little kite. Now, some people also call the kite an arrowhead. It looks like an arrowhead, right? Some people call it an arrowhead or a kite. So you notice that the two lines here, these two angles are congruent, and these two angles are congruent, and they intersect, right? The lines intersect each other. That means they're perpendicular. We talked about that word last video also. They also bisect. This one, the word bisect is interesting to know. So bisect, and we spelled that wrong, right? It's bisect. There we go. Always check your work, right? Bisect means it cuts it in half. So if we took this line and we cut it, it's going to be the same on both sides. So we bisected it this way. This bisected it, they're the same. But if we bisect this way, they're not the same, right? This triangle that we created would be different than that one. Let me go over bisect again. Let's erase this. So if you have a deltoid, right, or an arrowhead, if you want to call it, or a kite. So when we do this line, we bisect it in half. It'll be the same shape. Shape A and shape B will be congruent. Right? But if we bisect it the other way, this way, if we cut it this way, well, we're not really cutting it in half. A and B are not the same size. They're not congruent. So remember that word bisect. Right? I'll write it again because we spelt it wrong last time. Let's bring it down here so you see it. Bisect. There we go. Always check your work. And again, this is a deltoid. So we talked about the words adjacent, right? And it doesn't matter where you put the hash marks, as long as these two are the same. We know these two are the same length, and these two are the same length, right? So you can put one hash mark there and one hash mark there, and you can put the other two over there. It's just showing that they're the same and that the ones on top are the same. And again, it doesn't mean, we have it here where the top is smaller than the bottom, but it could be the other way around, right? It could be the other way around, right? We could have something like that for our deltoid. Now, we do know deltoids are quadrilaterals, so we know the total degree of a deltoid has to be 360 degrees. It has to be 360 degrees. And just so we remember that this angle and this angle, the ones that are opposite each other, are the same. They're congruent. All right, let's draw a trapezoid. And for extra credit, a trapezoid, let me write trapezoid. A trapezoid is called something else in England. It's called a trapezium. And some places in Europe say trapezium. So a trapezium and a trapezoid, same thing. So if I draw a trapezoid, and this is the standard way people draw trapezoids. It's four-sided. It has two lines that are parallel, so it has one pair. Remember we talked about this last video. It has one pair of lines that are parallel. One pair that are parallel. And they're not the same length, obviously. You can see they're not the same length. And then you have these two that are not parallel. They will eventually meet. So this is a standard trapezoid. But you can draw trapezoids other ways. You know, you can, as long as you have one pair, right, that are parallel. Here's one pair that are parallel. It's all. You can't have two that are parallel. So you can draw it like that. Right? And you can draw it upside down. It could be any way as long as it's, you could draw it like this, right? That's a trapezoid or a trapezium because you have two parallel lines, right? They're one pair and the rest aren't. Okay, and so if we look at a trapezoid like this, we remember that box means it's 90 degrees. So these angles plus the two 90-degree angles have to be 360 degrees because the total is 360 degrees. So we already have 90 and 90. And let's say I said this was 110, that degree. Remember, we make this little half circle for the degree. And the points, by the way, the points where the two lines meet is called the vertex. It's called the vertex, right? That's a vertex, that's a vertex. And we have four vertex. And the plural for vertex is verti, right? Or you can say vertices. Vertices. Vertices are the plural. Okay. So if that's 110, what would be A? What's the missing degree of A? What do you think? Well, we have 180 plus 110. And what would A be? Well, A will have to be 70 because that will give us 360, right? 90, 90, 110, and 70 is 360. All right. So remember when you're trying to find the missing degree. Okay, and here is, what kind of shape is this? What do you think this is? What kind of shape is that? Well, it's a rhombus, right? That's a rhombus. Because it has four sides, obviously it's a quadrilateral. And every side, because of the hash mark, showing you that every side is equal. And they do not have 90-degree angles. But every angle is equal also. By the way, the plural for a rhombus, if you have more than one rhombus, is rhombi. That's the plural for rhombus. Now I'm going to show you another quadrilateral that doesn't fit naturally in our category. So if you saw something like this, right? It's not exactly a deltoid. It looks like it could be almost a deltoid. This is just a scalene quadrilateral. Right? And it just means none of the sides are equal. So this could be 10, a length of 10. This could have a length of 9. This could have a length of 6. And this could have a length of 5. So it's a scalene quadrilateral. And you can make them in any type of shape. Scalene quadrilateral. So keep that in mind. All right, so that was deltoids and trapezoids or trapeziums. Great job.